Hello everyone, we're only one day away from the release of Winter War, the December or November winter set for Kards, and it's actually looking pretty exciting. It's revealing a totally new nation, Finland for minor, and also new mechanics. And we're gonna just rate the stars for the cards, 1 through 5, 1 being no one's really gonna play this, 5 being this is gonna be meta defining and really common. So, I would have loved, unfortunately they're not in the game yet, previously they were like pre-releases where we could see them in the game. I would have loved to do this in-game, to have all the nations in a row. I do have a picture of all the nations in a row, but it is in Chinese, so I'm gonna, reveal and rate the cards first here, and then I'll talk about it as a nation using that Chinese image, okay? So, 1 Stridsgruppen, salvage. I'm not gonna, I hate making videos that are 10 years long, right guys? So I'm gonna hope/assume you know what the cards do or can look on the screen, so I'm not gonna read everything every card does. Stridsgruppen. So this could be your 2-drop in a salvage deck. How do I feel about the salvage deck? We'll see later on. Salvage deck is okay. And I think that this card is also okay. I think Frontline is gonna be probably the best deck in the meta. And this card looks pretty good against Frontline, so very good against Frontline even. So how about 3 stars? 3 stars in Stridsgruppen. Infantry Regiment 13. Yeah, no, maybe if this were in some main nation, but it's a minor nation for Finnish control, you don't want to use your slots on this. You'd rather use it on. You're probably going to be playing with Britain, much better guards available there. This card is situational, suppress, which is like silence from other games, which just removes any text from units, is introduced in the same set, which is just absolutely going to turn this card into a pathetic excuse for a card. So 1 star. Sisu, when your HQ is to take damage, the enemy takes it instead. So, the Giga Dream is your opponent commonwealths you, and then they take 20 and you take 0. A lot of people think this card's really bad. I think this card is okay. I don't think it's a 1-star card for sure. I don't think it's a 1-star. I think you could, have one of these in there for fun, and it'd be okay. But yeah, it is pretty bad at 3K. Expensive countermeasures are hard to hide, but also taking out lurking danger and rotation, making countermeasures as a whole worse. 2 stars. Lotta Svard, your units get +1 def and -1 operation cost, so this will last for multiple turns as long as the units live. Pretty good. I regret to inform you that Finnish ally doesn't seem to be offering much to a Heinz deck. It's definitely offering something, but I still don't think I'm going to take Finnish over US or Japan. So, because of the nation that it's in, it's definitely not going to fit the traditional Finnish deck that they want us to go for. Yeah, maybe 2 stars, almost 3, but 2 stars on Lotta Svard. 64 Panzergren. This, on the other hand, now we have a nice good card. I'm going to give this 4 stars. 2 cost splits 2/3 infantry that if it survives the turn becomes 3/3 veteran and gives you 3 additional credits. So that's kind of just a free unit. You pay 2 for this, 1 to move it up, and then you get all those credits back. But if it does live, it's frankly usually even better because it catapults you over a certain credit threshold so that you could play, let's say, strategic bombing or Sherman or We Can Do It or whatever earlier than you should have been able to. So this card, yeah, it will die a lot of the time, but you're only playing this in an aggressive deck such as Frontline or Jager, so that maybe they've already played some of their early units in early removal, so it's a little bit less likely this gets removed. Even on the comeback, this card isn't terrible. If you go second as an aggro deck versus an aggro deck, it's not terrible. It's bad, don't get me wrong, if you don't proc the ability. But to force removal on this, and even if it only works 30% of the time, it's a great card. So 4 stars. 139 Gebirg Jager. So Alpine is coming back in a big way this set, and this is part of the reason. So we have a 3/4 Alpine that deals 2 damage to the enemy HQ when you add or deploy an Alpine unit. So it definitely gives a lot of burn Usually Alpine doesn't want to play much burn. So I like this because now you don't feel so much pressure to play Comet or whatever type of burn that you might have otherwise played, because sometimes you just get wiped off the board and then that's it. You never hit the enemy HQ ever again. You get Leopolded or Monsoon assessed, and then you just never hit their HQ again. But this allows you to burn through it. Plenty of cheap Alpine units. It's only a little overcosted, a 4-cost 3-4 Alpine. I mean, we happily pay 3k for a 4-3, so this is really only 1k overcosted to deal. I mean, you know, you're going to be smart about this. You're not going to be an idiot, right? So you're not really going to play this unless you're expecting to get the burn, unless you really have to. So, like, 4 HQ damage, at least, usually. 4 HQ damage. I mean, that's not even a horrible card for 4k. That used to be what Air Blitz was. So, how good is Alpine going to be is the next question, and Alpine is bad against Frontline. Like I said, Frontline is going to be the best deck in the game after rotation, which is kind of unfortunate and boring, but hey. Jagro, you were usually kind of bad against Jagro, but there's some other cards that you'll see will bolster you up, plus against that matchup, plus Jagro is getting nerfed quite a bit. Suppress is another huge issue for Alpine. Everything else, though, seems fine for Alpine. Finland is an issue too, but that's part of the suppress. There's a lot of suppress in Finland. I'm not actually sure if Alpine will be tier 1. So, think about what Soviet's going to be playing. Soviet's going to be playing like self-damage and control, and you're not really good against that either. I'm going to give this 4 stars, but it might end up being 5. We'll see. Focused attack, this is just a mega combined arms. Sorry, but 1 star. I mean, come on, 6k. I'm not playing this. No one's going to play this. It's just, if you can play this and it's awesome, then you were probably going to win anyway. 1 star. Halifax, Mark 1. Bombers you deploy deal their attack damage to a random enemy. Okay, I'm sorry, but giant bomber.deck is not going to be good. I mean, that's just too much greed. It will definitely beat some things. Like, it'll be really good until, let's say, maybe unitless decks and control decks that are super duper heavy and have difficulty dealing with bombers, and you burn them down with this. Because there are times where, let's say, ramp, British ramp, does get outvalued if, like, a Legion's deck hits enough draw, or a Soviet Italy deck hits enough draw and draws well enough, you know. It can happen if you don't just end their game by going faster on the ramp deck. So, like, this gives you more burn to close it out, but yeah, I don't, as a whole archetype, no. But I actually don't think it's that bad. The game will be slowing down a bit. So, a 3 stars. As a meta call, a 3 stars. Because it will own some things. Bomber Run. Deal 2 damage to a target unit, deal 5 if you control a bomber 5 or plus more attack. Again, trying to make Big Bomber into a deck. It will be a deck. I do think it will be a deck. It just won't be a very good deck, especially for ladder, but for competitive, if you're like calling out some control lineups, then actually, yeah, it could be funny. So, like, for example, in Legacy, this actually would be nice against like the unit list and the credit denial type decks. Yeah, the bombing run though, or the bomber run, it doesn't hit face. I mean, you wouldn't want this to hit face. It'd be too good if it did. Most of the time, this is just 2 for 2. Late game, it is 5, but like at that point, 2 stars on bomber run. 1/22 Core Sun, just obviously OP card. 5 stars. You will play this in probably every single Soviet deck, right? Yeah, I want to say every single Soviet deck will play Core Sun. Push. Note that push actually is going to be a special when it releases and not a standard. This was going to be a nice OTTK deck, but it got super duper nerfed, being a special now. So keeping in mind that push is a special, this is not very good anymore. you definitely can still OTK. What you could do is you could do Reichsbank into GPW, Red Dawn, push, or you could do Observer Corps, preparing for it, then GPW, Red Dawn, push, because that's gonna do first push will do 6, next push will do 9, so that would be an OTK. It's definitely still not a terrible OTK, and you'll see that Soviet's getting some more delaying tools coming back. So as a special push, is going to get only 3 stars from me. Winter Regiment. Okay, so Japan is in a lot of trouble this expansion. The rotation is hitting them super duper hard, and in fact the rotation is literally killing legions, which was so uncalled for. I'm very unhappy to see that. And because it's getting rid of long-range recon. I'm playing legions without that heal and without that extra intel card, because this set introduces no new intel cards. It's just going to be so much worse. So that is basically dead. Jager is going to get a lot worse, and salvage Japan, just no, guys. So although Winter Regiment is like a good card, the deck that it's trying to be a part of is not. So 3 stars. Forced Surrender. Now this is a good card. So Japan as an ally should still have plenty of opportunities here, like as an ally for Britain for the Susi pin deck, for example. This is going to go right in there. Losing Motti is a huge loss for sure. But other than that, if we take a look at the rotation, which let's take a look at that, by the way. So if we look at for a British Japan pin control deck. So we're losing Lend-Lease, but whatever, you still have way more to draw than you need. That's not that bad. Losing Welsh, if you want to do that, Welsh Guards, plus the whatever the 2K draw 2 if you have a guard is called, I'm sorry. So you're losing that combo. Okay, but whatever. We still have plenty of draw. Japan can't even play these, didn't play these, didn't play this, didn't play this, didn't play this, didn't play this. You did play TK, so that, okay. Alright, it is something. You did play TK. So losing that is something. Okay, I think that's actually enough for me to drop Forced Surrender down to 4 stars and not 5 stars. 4 stars on Forced Surrender. It is going to force you to surrender sometimes. M10A1 seems okay, but I actually think that the other sources of suppress will be better. So I'm going to have to give M10A1 3 stars. 3 stars. I think we're just better off playing 3 half-track, but it's okay. Not enough, I don't think, to be in most tier 1 versions of Frontline, though. 13th Engineer Battalion. So this is definitely a random card, 1/3, that you gain an extra credit slot when you deploy a unit with 3 or more operation costs. So they have introduced quite a few of those, and then I'm going to go into game right now and let me just tell you all the 3 operation options we have for US. Okay, in the relative early game, of course. So Jasko is the best. Definitely going to be playing that if you play the Engineers. You've got 5th Rangers if you deploy it as an 8/8. Supposedly it's not going to work if you pick the 0 option, even though the card in hand has 4 op. So that only as an 8/8, which is not what you want to do in the early game, but you definitely can if you need the extra credit. Then you've got the Marines, the big fat Marines, the 4th Marines, the 6/6 with 4 op. That card is bad, but like, is it good enough to play with this card? I'm gonna say no, because why would you build your whole deck around a single elite that, yeah, the effect is like really good, but it's not that good if you find it in the later turns? No. So I'm gonna have to give 2 stars to this. I do think ramp is gonna get a lot better, and we'll talk about it, but I'm not excited to be playing this card in that deck. 2 stars. Fiat Br 20. So deployment, add 2 3rd Alpini, which is the 1/2 Alpine from Italy, to your support line. Okay. It's just a lot of stats on 1 card. 4 stars. Definitely gonna go into Alpine. You get a little bomber with it too, so the opponent, you don't want to leave bombers alive because sometimes they can trade out units for free. So then you have to choose between, do I destroy the Alpine units, to destroy the bomber? I'm not happy either way. Either way, either the Alpines are going to get bigger or I'm going to get free traded out on a bomber. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stats. Definitely great against after you get board wiped. That's something nice that Alpine is getting this set, is you're getting comebacks to board wipes, and this is one of them, so 4 stars. T-3485 1944, this was buffed to a 7-7, please note. It would have been a 1 star, but as a 7-7, it's going to get a 2 star? I mean, it's still bad. Blitz and guard control 3 more units. Notice how this is not a deploy effect, so it can lose the blitz, and it can lose the guard if you have to trade out units on your turn, which is kind of random. It is an 8K tank. That does matter for stand together a lot, but I mean, we're not talking about how often we're going to see it. We're going to talk about, are you going to put this in your deck or not? And T-34 deck. Yeah, there's not enough support for the T-34 deck still, so 2 stars. 1 42nd Infantry, Blitz, if it destroys enemy unit, gain 2 defense. 2 stars. It just fills an awkward point in ramp. It's a nice defensive card if you're playing a really, really greedy ramp, but I mean, I don't think so. I just want to play War Machine on 2, and then like this as a turn or as a 4 credit play, like 2 stars. The H39 Swag. This standard is unassuming, but it's actually really good. 1-4 Arty, which is with Fury is okay, but then this is what really makes it good. Suppress units attacked by this unit. So I'm definitely seeing this going into combined arms, because you don't really want to play mini bounces or some, like the only bounce you usually have is like Jagd Bomber, and you don't really want to play things like Pursuit. So this just gets around guards. This gets around things like Aichi is getting rotated actually, never mind. But it could get around taking out like these stronger 1 health units like from Jagero, or the CCs from Finland that we'll see, without having to use your huge attack from a Humber or whatever it is. Also, just the stat line alone, even if you're not suppressing, if we combine this with 101 Infantry, the one that buffs you by +1/+1 when you attack, plus the 1K Infantry that gives you free operation costs. What is that thing's name? 56 Jager Regiment. 56 Jager Regiment. I mean, just the stats alone is going to make this really strong. I actually already like combined arms. Like, I actually can win plenty of games on combined arms, and rotation I don't think is really hurting it, right? Take a look at Germany. Don't care. Okay, that matters a lot, I'm not gonna lie. The monitor matters a lot. Everything else I don't care. And then Britain, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of I don't cares, right? Yeah, I don't care anything that I'm losing in Britain. So, dare I say 5 stars? Because you're going to put this in front line too, maybe. And you can... Yeah, you can put this in front line too. Okay. That reminds me. Alright, FM10A1. 2 stars. This card bad, because you can just play Swag instead. Swag, 5 stars. RAF Mitchell. Yeah, 1 star. This is a piece of trash. Maybe it could go into that big bomber deck, but 1 star. 20th Infantry Regiment. So Japan is not looking very good. If there is in the future, like Japan, Italy, control deck. What are we losing for that? Pact of Steel as an option. We're losing these really good cards. We're losing Aichi. We're losing... I was actually playing Sneak Attack in Legions sometimes. You're losing TK if you wanted that. You're losing 61st. You're losing... Why are we losing for Glory? Why are we losing everything from Japan? What the heck? Is this even going in there? I mean, sure, how good is that deck? Meh. I don't even know if you played in that, so 2 stars. Panther D. It's a really cool card. Big burn focused card. 7/6 tank. The attack damage dealt by this unit is also dealt to the enemy HQ. Okay, so what isn't clear is when they say attack damage, do they mean I have to be attacking? I assume so. If it's retaliation damage as well, this card gets a lot better, but I'm going to assume it's only when we're attacking. If it's only when we are attacking, then it's a lot of burn while providing you a meh body. I'm gonna say German control is not looking that bad, but not looking that good. 4 stars. I'm gonna say Panther D 4 stars. Sure, we'll play it in most versions of Germany. Probably still don't want to play an expensive card in a super aggro German deck. It messes with your enigmas and so on. So maybe actually only 3. If it's only when we're attacking, 3. I'll give 3 to Panther D. 13, Gebirg Jager, 2/2 Alpine, gets +1/1/1 when you add or deploy an Alpine unit. Yeah, so this is looking really good. Let's even out the reacts, alright? This is looking really good. I think this is just replacing or at least supplementing the other Alpine guy from Germany, 136 Gebirg Jager. So this is only a 2/2 compared to a 4/3. But it grows exponentially faster. So, yeah, I kind of like that. I'm going to give it 4 stars. And then we got the Type 94 TK early. 4 stars, great card. Again, Jager will be struggling, but you could use it as Japan ally in Heinz or just whatever it is. Just US Japan frontline deck, where you try to supply shipment this next turn. I mean, can you imagine this thing getting supply shipment? You got 4/4 on turn 2, like with 0 op cost. This card's super good. 4. Definitely going into Jager and Legacy as well. Enemy contact. So this card, the new partnership for some reason of the set with 728 messages. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but Motti is rotating. You got order synergy with Pioneer Company and Crusader, so it's not that bad. Yeah, it'll go into Pin Britain, Pin Japan. Probably as like a 1 of, maybe. I'll give it 3 stars. Very average card. I mean, super average card. 3 stars. 67th Baranovici. We keep trying to make out like tokens a thing, but now not only are we trying to make tokens a thing, we're trying to make Alpine tokens a thing. Are we going to be playing Alpine tokens? Yeah, I mean tokens is actually pretty okay as is. It is pretty okay. I feel like this could be pretty funny in Hopper maybe. Oh wait, no, we can't even play this. This is a special. Alright, never mind. Yeah, I don't think so. 2 stars. 2 stars. Like, the token shell is enough. Like, do we really need to add this really bad card on its own to try to get some extra buffs on the tokens? I feel like the buffs we have are already kind of sufficient. 2 stars. Cobelligerents. So this card is really expensive. Target enemy unit is shuffled into your deck. It does go nicely into Commonwealth pin type of decks because you already draw through your whole deck usually, so like armaments types of decks. So putting an extra card in there can help in the super late game. Definitely does help. And you also really lack hard removal as Britain, so it's also kind of a hard removal option, be it an expensive one for sure. So I will say that it'll be an important card in those really, really control-based Britain decks. 4 stars. Supply priorities. Alright, I mean, this is actually one of the best cards we've seen so far. Supply priorities, choose 1, deal 1 damage to all units, or fully repair all units. I'm going to go ahead and give this want to give this 4 or 5. So let's think about Winter Warfare, which this set is also kind of named after, right? So Winter Warfare is a 4-star card right now, right? It's an important card to self-damage, and it's important for proccing the ISU combo. It's just a generally good card against super aggro decks as well. Everything we just said, except for the synergy with self-damage, applies to this card. But it's also a US card, which is huge, because US control decks usually have nothing to do. Turn 1, they usually have no AoE for the front line. And here it is. That is there. The fact that it doesn't hit face does make it worse in a lot of situations, but as the US ramp deck, you usually want to conserve your HP anyway, so maybe it's not a downside in that situation. And then if you don't need that AoE, you can repair your units against, you know, maybe a supply shortage or whatever. I think you will not play this in frontline though. You will not play this in frontline. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'll give it 4 stars, but this card is really good. 146 Infantry Regiment. Counting itself, it does count itself. It becomes a 4-3 if you have 3 or more units. So you only need 2 other units, and you play this and you have a 4-3. I actually do think with Jager getting nerfed hard that the like Iron from the North or super aggro style Soviet Germany decks do have a lot of room to shine. So I actually do think this card is good. How good? 4 or 3 stars, guys? What do you think? I'm 146. I actually will say this is going to be very good. Keep in mind, right, if the meta gets greedier, super aggro decks become better. I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to say 4 stars. 4 stars because the Spoos card is going to absolutely blitz down some decks. The Soviet German deck right now is maybe like a 3-star deck. Like some people have tried bringing it to competitive events, and it very rarely works out, to be honest. But I do think the meta is going to shape out a lot better for the deck, and that this is going to be, heck, maybe even a 4 of in that deck. So I will say 4 stars. Infantry Regiment 61. So this is the payoff for the salvage deck. It is a special, so you only get 2 payoffs. There's kind of one more, we'll see in a minute, but 4-6 salvage units you deploy are 4-4 instead of 1-1. Salvage units are usually always 1-1 by default, but this will make them into a 4-4. That's a huge increase for sure, but this base stat line is not good. People are saying, oh, the stats are fine, you know, 4K, 4-6 infantry. That is not fine, guys. Like, that is not how Cards is played. That is super slow. That is super slow. That is not enough stats for a no blitz infantry. It's a huge buff to my salvage units though, but overall the salvage deck not very good. 3 stars. It's like good, like it's okay, but it's 3 stars good. So I'm gonna say 3 stars. This is the best card in the deck though. This is like the only reason the deck works. Vanguard, 4 stars. This is gonna go into your Alpine deck. Maybe only 1, maybe only 2, but it will give you the HP that you need to come back against the more aggressive decks. Because yeah, you can play the 7th Alpini, the 4-7 healing guard, but that card is going to get bounced. That card is going to get suppressed. That card is an expensive card. This is something I can throw on a big Alpine in my back line and hit with it once or twice and get a lot of healing. So this may full on replace 7th Alpini in Alpine maybe. But yeah, pretty great card. 4 stars. Pummel. This is going to be a 3 from me. 3 stars for me. 4, yeah, barely 3. 4K. Suppress target unit and destroy it if it costs 3 or less. So 4K, destroy 3K or less unit is meh. But it can also suppress a target. So this means if you really need to, this does have flexibility. It does suppress 272, which normally Germany does struggle against a ton, right? It can suppress 272 guards, the 8K guy that makes the Josef Stalin. It can suppress a big firewalled unit. If a huge unit of yours is firewalled, you can take off the firewall or whatever it is. So, or the pin. So yeah, there's some nice flexibility here. 3 stars. Pack 36 Finland.
You're not. Why would you play Finland artillery? It's just like the card itself would be okay in another nation, but it's just trash in Finland. So 1 star. 20 Panzer Grenadier. I think we have another 5-star. We have another 5-star right here. This is the type of card that's going to bring combined arms to the forefront of the meta. Again, like I said, yes, the meta overall is looking slower and greedier, which means that hyper aggro decks get better and better. So this would go into combined arms. This card has so much going for it. So number 1, it's a 4K 3/4 infantry blitz. Okay, that's bad. What else does it do? Oh, it gives me a 35T and the combined arms. So it's kind of like a little convoy as a deployment effect. And on top of that, all of this is packed into one card, which is actually good because it doesn't interfere with Enigma now. So instead of having those 3 cards individually, it's all tucked into one card, which helps out Enigma. So yeah, this card is just dummy good. I mean, I think you're playing this in fast times. You could even play it in frontline, and it's making combined arms. Like, it's absolutely just heckin' amazing in combined arms. So 5 stars, great card. Hammer Home. Oh, this card is really good. I just wish they gave more exile support. Why did it? Come on, give us like a lot, you know? Like you gave tokens so much. Can you give Soviet Air something? Can we give exile something? Because I do kind of like the exile deck. This card is super duper good, but an exile deck as a whole, no. You do not need to be running a dedicated exile deck to play this card, but what decks are really playing exile units already willingly? Pretty much nothing. Nothing really is playing exile units willingly. So then you have, if you were only playing a few exile units and you just put this in there saying, hey, when it combos, it's gonna be sick. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna be making your deck any better, because there's gonna be a fair amount of times that it's just a completely dead card. But the card is amazing. Exile right now is like a tier 3 deck in my experience. You know, I definitely can win with it, but is this enough to really bring back exile? It's not like they got that much else. Because the card is so amazing, even if exile is not, I'm still gonna give it 4 stars on Hammer Home. Victory March. Okay. Set the operation cost of your units to 0. Gain HQ defense equal to the total cost reduced. Alright, so at first glance, you might think this is a win more card, meaning that, oh, I mean, this is like a ramp card that's only good when you have a ton of units, and like, if you already have a ton of units on ramp, you're probably gonna win anyway, right? Well, not necessarily. There's burn out there. There's definitely plenty of burn, and I do think that burn decks will also be getting a bit more popular, a bit better, because if we are going to play a air quotes Jagro deck, they're definitely trying to make us play destruction or convince us to play a destruction deck with a lot of burn. I think Finland and Suppress and all these other control tools encourage people to play burn decks or unitless decks that kind of go over the top of all this removal. You know, if, oh, this removal is so good, then I just don't want to play big units anyway. So then I'm going to try to win through burn, Commonwealth, and all these other alternate conditions. Blitz units, whatever. So, armaments style decks. So I actually do think it's not a win more card. I do think that as a single card, it's just one card, you know? We're just asking for one spot in your deck to potentially heal a huge amount in the late game. I think that's actually pretty okay. I think it's definitely okay. I don't think high op cost, like dedicated high op cost ramp is going to be the way. That just seems so irresponsible. You're playing on ladder. You're going to run into anything aggressive, and unless you have the best start ever, you're going to get whomped. So 4 stars though. 4 stars on Victory March. Duress, 4 stars. 0K, suppress a unit. This is really good, and it can suppress your own units. Is a huge deal, because we have seen, especially Chinese players, pull out these frontline targeting lineups with Brit Pin, Brit Japan Pin, Firewall with US Brit US, etc. These types of super control decks. So suppressing your own unit is a beautiful option to have, and yeah, I mean. 0K. You can do this after you do everything else in the turn. Yeah, I mean, you might as well play this in every deck. Every US deck, you might as well play one. Duress, 4 stars. Devil's Brigade, 5 stars. So 3K, 3/3. Alpine, exiled to Britain. Blitz. Deployment, choose to either deal a damage, 1 damage to an enemy, or destroy the enemy if it's an Alpine. So there will be a decent amount of Alpine out there. So it is an Alpine tech, but on the surface, the body is totally fine. Like, dealing 1 is great. Exile to Britain is great. Britain definitely is lacking blitz options. The fact that it's an Alpine, like, are we gonna want to play Britain or US Alpine? Probably no, but it's probably still a good keyword to have. It could do something occasionally, like let's say in Frontline, if you have 2 Devil's Brigades, and then you have the Pioneer Regiment, the 1/1 guy that gives the extra credit. You know, it's like 4 Alpine units, so like occasionally you'll get +1/+1 out of this Alpine tag. So that's definitely something. Definitely something. It will depend a little bit how good Alpine ends up being. I did kind of end up calling that Alpine maybe won't be meta defining, maybe it won't be 5 stars, but certainly it's still a good card even when there's not an Alpine unit to hit. Dealing 1 damage. I'll take it. Ox and Bucks. 3/4 salvage deployment, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. Probably does go into the Brit Finn salvage deck, but again, that deck is pretty bleh. So this is so expensive, man. This is so expensive. Here, my concern also for the Brit Finn deck is like your early game is not like that great either, you know, and I'm filling up with all these little crappy 1/1s. Maybe just 2 stars in Ox and Bucks, honestly. 2 stars on Ox and Bucks. 334th Mountain Rifles, 2/3 Alpine for 2K. That would have been great, honestly, if it were in Germany or in Italy, but it is in Soviet. How's Alpine tokens? Meh. How's Alpine Soviets? That, on the other hand, might actually be a bit better. So this is just 1K less than Baranovici, but it doesn't do the buff to the light infantry. I actually think Alpine Soviets is going to be kind of fine. They're going to really like that healing in Alpine Soviets. You have that nice control shell for like other Alpine decks and frontline decks. I'm going to actually say 3 stars. I'm going to say 3 stars in this. On the Ascent, again, I really wish Japan wasn't as bad as it looks like it's gonna be, because this card would be insane. It destroys and salvages the units with the least attack on the battlefield. So what this means is if your opponent's board is all, let's say, tokens that have been buffed to 3/4s or 2/3s, this destroys literally all of them because the lowest attack would be 2K. And this is a 3K card, and you salvage everything you destroy. So this is pretty crazy. It's going to be a really skill testing card to decide when to use it, for your opponent to decide what to play around it. It's a bit more of an inherent control card than it is an aggro card, but you probably still played an aggro too. It's just so cheap. Like, it's not to the last man, and sometimes people do randomly throw to the last man into Jager, and it's like, oh, dang it. Like, I'm actually going to lose to this? Are you serious? Like, I actually did lose to it. So it's not like you wouldn't play this in Jager as well. Also, in Destruction Jager, sometimes the ability to destroy your own units before they can get suppressed or bounced or whatever, that's actually kind of good too. It's just Japan does not look good. Japan, Italy is probably looking like the best way right now. And this would be really good in there. I will go ahead and I'll give this 5 stars for future implications, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be played at a 5-star rate for now. Honor and Loyalty, interesting card, 2K, French. Shuffle target unit to owner's deck. Owner draws 2 cards, so this can be used to remove and mill your opponent. On the surface, card advantage wise, it's not good. But let's think about all the times that France has milled us in the past, and this is definitely a great mill card. It's removal and mill. In Legacy, this looks like a pain, man. It looks like a pain. Plus, you can use it on your own card if you need to draw, or if you can't play it on anything else. You know, it's you don't usually want to, but at least that option exists. Using it on your own card to draw, or using it on your own card to, let's say, repeat an important battle cry or deployment effect. So, looks pretty good. How is French ally doing as a whole? Not amazingly. Definitely not amazingly right now. I'm gonna give it 3 stars to honor and loyalty. 3 stars. First, Hussards. 3-4 blitz. The enemy, the end of turn, draw a card. The enemy is not used in the battlefield. Please, can you give us more cards like this? Because you keep printing cards that punish like big fun units and playstyles. Why can't we print more units that punish uninteractive playstyles, where the opponent doesn't play units and stuff like that? That being said, this is not even like the kind of effect that I want against Resistance. Like, I usually don't even want to be drawing cards against Resistance. Obviously, Resistance doesn't really exist right now in Standard, but in Legacy. So yeah, maybe instead next time give it like an effect like it burns the enemy HQ or it heals your HQ. If this said like heal your HQ 4, then maybe even 5 would probably be too OP. 5 would probably be too OP. But like if it was like heal your HQ 4, I would love this. We have to play France ally to be playing this. I don't want to play France ally in most decks. 3 stars. It's good, but it's not that good. Okay, now we get to see the Sissy archetype. Strike from the woods. Pin target unit. Add a Sissy to your support line. What is Sissy? 1k, 1/1 infantry, and it destroys anything that it damages. It does have to damage it though, so heavy armor will stop it. Sissy Finland is looking like the main way to play Finland to me. I'm going to give Strike from the Woods 4 stars. Brit Pin. This is, the Sissies give Brit that hard removal that it's otherwise lacking. So 4 stars. Cold Trap, 4 stars. When an enemy unit attacks, add Sissy as defender. So it's kind of like a much cheaper entrapment. With the downside that this isn't going to stop artillery or bomber, which is a huge downside, don't get me wrong. Not going to do anything against artillery or bomber, and doesn't give you +1/+1. So huge downsides, but much cheaper is great. So 4 stars. White Death, suppress all enemies. Units, actually, they did preemptively nerf this. It was supposed to nerf HQs too, but I guess not anymore. So suppress all enemies and add Sissy with Blitz. So absolutely a nightmare for Alpine decks, for Jager destruction. Sometimes even frontline if they're We Can Do It, using We Can Do It and all that stuff. Sometimes even them too. Tokens. There's a lot of decks that this is a good effect against. And even when the suppression effect isn't that great, 5k to destroy a unit in the front line is okay as well. It's okay as well. I kinda wish. Nah, it would probably be toxic if it suppressed HQ too. That would be toxic. Because it would just be abused in Britain and set people down to 20 and then Commonwealth them. Is this actually going to be a 5-star though? Is it actually going to be a 5-star? I really don't think Finland's broken. I really don't think it's broken at all. So a lot of people are saying that it is, but I don't think so. I'm going to say 4 for White Death. 252 rifles. I will tentatively give this a 4. I will give this a 4. I think self-damage is still going to be good. I think in some ways it's going to be better. The rotation didn't affect it that much, and it's actually getting a few new cards. So I think it'll be a 4-star. Very nice card. 432 infantry. 1. 78 Steel Regiment. Two? Two? It's just not how the game is played, guys. Two. Ingenuity, 2. Alpenfestung, 4. Again, I don't think German Control will be a tier 1 deck, so I'm not going to give this a 5, but you definitely should put this into your German Control. Obviously, you're not just going to play it randomly. You're only going to play it if your other option is death. One of the big issues with this card, though, is sometimes you're gonna cry because it's like, should I play this already or no? Because you're not sure how much burst the enemy has in hand. You're gonna not play it and you're gonna get bursted anyway. Or sometimes you're gonna play it because you're afraid of the burst. They didn't end up having the burst, and then you lose in fatigue because of this. So it does have a lot of complications, but just giving Germany heal is just too important to ignore. 4 stars. Entrenched. This card is randomly good. This little standard here. 3 stars. Guard spam. Not gonna be a good deck, especially in the new meta, because again, it'll be a bit more controlled, a bit more slow. But you know, just a random one of in your British control deck to have your Gren guards just end the game out of nowhere. That's pretty cool. Plus salvage. Yeah, 3 stars. Also, legions. Brit legions. This is gonna help your legion randomly end the game, something like that. So 3 stars. Might even be a 4. Special reinforcements. 3 stars. This is for like a 272 printer deck. That deck is getting massively hurt by suppression being added. Rotation is hitting it a little as well. But 3 stars. Definitely going into the printer deck. Glamour Boys. I like this card. I mean, it's good. 3/7 guard. Heals you for 4. Notably deployment effects, so when this guard does get bounced, it can heal you again at least. So it's not like you're not that sad when it gets bounced most of the time. Is this a 4? Is this actually a 4 somehow? I'm gonna say yes. This is randomly gonna be a 4. This is a good card. Glamour Boy is a good card. 4. The salvage guy. 2 stars. I think the Stridsgruppen is better. 2 stars. Scrap metal. Here's the other payoff for the salvage deck. Choose and discard a unit to draw a card. Okay, well that's bad. Gain 4 credits if the unit was salvaged. Okay. Yep, 3 stars. I do think Japan's self-discard is pretty much dead from the rotation, but now maybe you can do Japan finish, salvage, self-discard. The tools do exist. Seems like a 3-star deck though. But not a bad card actually, Scrap Metal. Depths of Winter. I hate this card. This is a 6-star card. Should be nerfed. 6 stars for Depths of Winter. It ignores Death Rattles, you know, destruction effects as well. Because they're just removed. They're just wiped away. And it's 5k? Why? So compare this to Monasteer, which, you know, resulted in a famous copy pasta, right? Monasteer was way worse because it gave them full-on units. This is going to give them just 1/1. Just 1/1 light infantry. You know, like, it doesn't matter how big the unit is. King Tiger is becoming a light infantry. Whereas Monasteer replaced it with nothing, because there was nothing to downgrade King Tiger into. There was no 11k, for example. This is just so much better, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and it's a really annoying card to play around, and it's absolutely not gonna, it's not for tokens. This is for everything. Yeah, you play it in tokens too, but like, if anything, this is better outside of a tokens deck. It's for a control deck, so. Ugh, gross card. Why is this 5k? It's way too cheap. 6 stars, I hope it's nerfed. Production order. 1k to get yourself either B24D or B24J. 4 stars, definitely going to play both of these in US ramp. B24J especially is crazy. 7.5 blitz, heavy armor, suppresses all enemy units. That's great. You're almost never going to take B24D because it doesn't even have blitz. But you could take this to try to, you know, end the game faster against the burn deck. But you're probably never taking this almost. Vicious Salvo, deal 3 damage to a target unit, suppress adjacent units. Alright, so this is really nice for frontline because Let's say the enemy has an artillery and a Bryansk irregulars. What you can do is you can do 3 damage, destroy the artillery, suppress the the irregulars, and they literally have a 0/6 that does nothing. No destruction effect. They have to spend credits to attack into you to get rid of that unit. So yeah, this is gonna go into frontline, and frontline's gonna be the best deck in the game. So it can go into other decks too, of course, besides frontline. So 5 stars for Vicious Salvo. Sissiosasto 5D. Guard gets +1/1 when enemy unit is added, deployed, or destroyed. So this doesn't directly relate to any of the Finnish themes, but if anything, it maybe is more for the salvage. Again, in another nation, this card would be really good. I mean, this text is really, really good. I would say I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe 4 stars, because maybe you can play this in the Sissy deck. 4 stars. This seems too strong to not be a 4 stars. Frozen assets. Also, this is going to go in the Sissy deck. Add a Sissy adjacent to a friendly unit as Blitz and Salvage. Okay, so it's a way for your Sissy to reach the back line. So if you have a frontline unit, you can Frozen assets it, and then Sissy a backline. 4 stars. 3rd Canadian Division. Your Salvage units cost 2 less to deploy. So yeah, obviously this is for the salvage deck. Salvage deck's just not that good. 3 stars. Breaking Point, destroy suppressor pin unit. 2 stars. Worse than enemy spotted, which got buffed to 1k. This is like the old. This is kind of like the old pre-buff enemy spotted. 2 stars. Less terribles when your opponent or when you deploy another unit with 3 or more operation cost. Draw a card, so it doesn't count itself. 3 stars. Again, I don't really trust huge. Or should I give it 2? Or should I give the engineers 3? Okay, fine. I'll give the engineers 3 to give Les Terribles 3. But why? There's not enough support for this. Why do you want to play the fat op cost ramp? Why not just play regular ramp with like actual anti-aggro cards? Jet Prototype, hilarious card. 2 stars though. SDF. Your other units have +1 attack for each of your guard units. So not itself, but let's just say you have 2 legions. They would both have +2 attack. And this card's only 2k. So it's definitely gonna go into legions. I don't know if it's going to go into much else. Pretty strong. Legions is okay. I don't really like Brit Legions right now. I prefer Japanese Legions. Let's check. What are they losing? Monty, of course. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Unleash kind of matters. Doubting kind of matters. Not much. Whatever. Let's just give it a 4, because you're gonna play it in Legions. 4. I'm gonna just say whatever. Legions is gonna be okay. It does seem like it's gonna be okay into the meta. So, but then again, we got that mass suppression. 3. Line of engagement. 3. I'm still not super expecting a lot from tokens, but this card's pretty good. Motti Tactic, destroy target unit and salvage it. It's really expensive, but yeah, you'll probably play 1 in the Brit Finland, just because again, you don't usually have that much removal. Yeah, maybe, do I even play this? Why not just play the winter, the Frozen Assets guy? Why not just play Frozen Assets? You can play 4 Frozen Assets. Well, I know why, because I guess you don't play that many units in this deck. This just straight up goes to it, so 3 stars. Maizuru SNLF, Alpine. This is a great Alpine text. When you add or deploy an Alpine unit, deal 1 damage to a random enemy, pin it if it's a unit. Does this count itself? Do we know? Does anyone know if this counts itself? If this counts itself, this is really good. And why does not trigger on itself? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, 3 stars just because Japan Alpine. Like, why? Why would you do that? 3 stars. Jager Battalion 2. Yeah, I think this goes into the Sissy deck for sure. 4 stars. It's a lot for what? It's a lot in one card. 2 stars for the Fiat. 2 stars for Through the Ice. Just, this is just worse than Tora pretty much every time. Mountain Offensive. 4 stars. You played an Alpine. Nice reload. Distant Front. Actually, kind of good. So this is really just a standard version of Isolation, and it costs 1k, but it only hits 3 or less attack. But somehow, I would say it's almost better than Isolation, because the main reason you use this, or the main reason you do play Isolation, is to remove your own Kawanishi to then OKO when it comes back, so it can't get removed. So it's 1k cheaper to isolate your own Kawanishi. They also rotating Isolation for some reason? Is that why they put this in? No, they're not. Okay, yeah, that would have been weird. 3 stars, I think it's at least as good as Isolation. Probably better a lot of the time. 3 stars. Out of the Mist, deal 1 damage to target unit. If it's destroyed this turn, salvage it. Okay, Japan salvage deck. Pretty good. 3 stars. 118 Mixed Regiment. 2 stars. 2 stars or 3 stars? You played this in the salvage deck? Actually, yeah, you played it in the salvage deck because you don't have that many other 1-drops, I guess. 3 stars. Saruga Regiment. Okay, this is for Destruction Japan. Pretty good card in Destruction Japan, really. For the burn aspect. But man, these stats are awful. I just can't see something like this fighting back against Alpine and Frontline, guys. 2 stars. 0. Okay, allegedly, Eternal Testing said this card had to be nerfed because it was so good. Yes, there are situations where this is insane, but most situations this is just trash, and it's an elite. You have to play it in Japan. We don't want to play Japan, but yes, it definitely goes into Japan, Italy. You know, you play this down, and then also like in Jagro, you could even play it in Jagro. You know, you get a big board, you play it down because it's coming up to their AoE turn, and all of a sudden they can't play their AoE anymore. But it's also just a 4-3. Again, we're going into a world of Frontline and Alpine. Can nerf Jagro really protect this card? It's 3 health, guys. It's 3 health. Are we sure an Alpine unit's not just going to hit this once and trade out with this 6k elite? I don't believe in it. I do not believe in it. It's either a 2 or a 3. Like, it's not bad. You have to be really patient with this card. You have to be really smart with this card. But it's just such an awful card most of the time that you have it in hand. I'll say 2. T35, I'm actually going to give it a 4. I do think you'll play at least 1 in self-damage. 4. Snowstorm, 3 stars. Definitely going into your push OTK deck. Also, you know, it would be a funny meme if you did this plus the Victory Path from the US and just heal a ton randomly in like a Frontline deck. But that, you're not going to do that, realistically. Detached Battalion 4. Okay. So this is Sudden Strike that comes with a 2-3 and it salvages. 2-3 infantry is pretty trash. Is this a natural fit into the Sissy deck? No, it's definitely a natural fit into the Salvage deck, which we talked about isn't that good, but this has more overall utility for sure. Keep in mind though, we're also going into a control meta where there may not even be that many good 2 costs all the time, and 4k for a Sudden Strike, yeah, I think I'm already gonna be dead against Combined Arms, so I'm gonna just say 3 stars for now. 104 Infantry Regiment. If Mare was in the game still, like in Lex, this card actually might be pretty good. This is a ton of stats, but really this is just going to be the same as the Armored Division guys, the 5-5. Everything about that guy was the same, but it came with the text that it takes 2 less damage for each neighbor this has. However, that kind of infantry is really slow for a Frontline deck, it turned out. And that text doesn't actually matter most of the time in a ramp deck. I actually do think that overall this is better than the Armored Division and the slower decks that you'd play it in, but because Mare is not in the game, because Mari's not in the game, I guess 3. It's a lot of stats. 3, probably gonna be more like a 2 to be honest, but I don't know. 3. Grim Day. I mean, rest in peace, Embargo. Embargo was like one of the worst cards in the game, so that's fair to power creep it. And yeah, you could throw one of these into front line. Yeah, why not? You could put one into front line. 3 stars, Grim Day. T26 Finland. 1-3 has +2 attack against units with higher attack. This would be good in another nation, but I don't want to play Finnish Heinz. 2 stars. Welch Regiment, 1 star. Take Liberty, last card, and actually a pretty important one to end on. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, then draws 4 cards. So this is Glide from Hearthstone with a couple key differences. So number 1, Hearthstone cards are supposed to be way more OP than Kards cards. So for this to still be 4K, Also, Glide had Outcast, meaning you had to use it from the edge of your hand. This you can use it from anywhere in your hand. Yeah, I mean, definitely play at least 1 Jager. Definitely at least. Sometimes you do draw your opponent's cards, which makes this terrible, obviously, when that does happen. But sometimes you also reduce their hand massively. And you yourself drawing 4 cards, if you're having a low hand size in an aggro deck, I mean, that's insane, you know, 4K draw 4. So Take Liberty, actually really, really good card. If Jager were in a better spot, you know, this might even be a 5-star, but for now, 4-star on Take Liberty. And now, as a whole, for the set and for the nations, again, this is in Chinese, but Britain, Glamour Boys, we're getting some control tools, a little bit of a Legion tool, but this is a pretty big miss for Britain overall. Not great. Not great for Britain. Germany, Alpenfestung, huge Alpine support, huge Alpine support, combined arms support, swag, which is just generally useful on a ton of decks. Germany looking great. The new cards that they got, fantastic overall. US is going to bring back Ramp. Ramp will be in the meta again, thanks a large part to supply priorities. We've got this just generally useful Devils guy, which we gave a 5 stars. Vicious Salvo, just generally useful, we gave a 5 stars. Frontline, still looking like one of the best decks in the game. Soviets, some misses, but overall, also a great set. I don't know if I believe in the Alpine tokens. I definitely don't believe in that, but Corson, the Winter Storm or whatever, this card is just stupid broken. I hate it. Corson, the Winter Storm, push OTK as an option, a couple more self-damage tools, a printer tool, a hyper aggro tool, looking really nice on Soviets. Japan mostly a loss as well. Don't believe in Japan. Salvage. Some of these tools here and there, yes, but overall Japan, not a good set for Japan. France, no, not good. Not really good, no. It's okay. Italy, good though, because we got 2 huge Alpine tools out of Italy. Looking nice on Italy. The Polish cards, Hammer Home, such a great card, but ironically doesn't have a home. Steel Regiment, like, why? No, like, no one, you're not gonna play Poland for cards like these. You're playing Poland for either exile or for the legions, you know. So although in another nation, yes, Steel Regiment maybe, but in Poland, no. And then of course Finland, our brand new nation, getting a lot of cards. Salvage stuff, meh. The Sissy stuff looks good. Doesn't look broken though. I don't think, you know, looks like a nice balanced release overall for Finland. Looking like a nice partner for Britain, because again, Finland really lacking draw and heal. So just a natural partner for Britain because it provides so much hard removal. Finland's giving so much hard removal, so a natural Commonwealth partner. All right, please let me know everything that you think in the comments, and thank you everyone for watching.